everybody, my name is Rantius, and welcome to this opening moves guide for Trebizond. If you're new here, I started this channel 4 months ago, and it has been an absolute blast. Mostly responding back to people's comments. I have been playing EU4 for quite some time. I'm definitely not going to say I'm the best EU4 player. I'm never going to say I'm the best player for anything, period. But what I will say is that I have been working a decent amount in trying to find the best possible way to have a starting good game as Trebizond, because I feel like this nation has a lot to offer, especially with the new flavor that they put into it with this DLC, or I guess patch or whatever. And I really wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because it is to a point easier to get the achievement now, but at the same time, if you don't play your early game right, you will definitely get screwed. And I mean royally, okay? But what I have done is I've come up with a couple of different strats, a couple of different ideas, and what I would hope to happen is for healthy discussion to start up in the comments and helping one another out and refining this strategy. I'm pretty sure there will probably be other people that are going to take bits and pieces of this one and make it better. So let's be open-minded in this particular situation. But for this, I want to at least show you guys a decent early game, go step by step through a couple of the early missions, how to really navigate past, constantly being close to the red, if not in the red, and your early expansion paths. Your main goal is survival, okay? Survival of this nation is really important. You cannot stay as an OPM here. It's not possible. Your expansion paths are limited, and I will say that rerolling is more than likely going to be in the cards for this particular run. So, without further ado, let's just jump on into it. If you do like this video, and it did help you, please consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you like my feel, if you laugh at any point during this entire video. You know what? I consider that a win. And before we jump in fully, I'm just going to mention, if you lose the Komnenoi dynasty, ever, period. I don't care if you're like 2 development off, man. 2 development off, that's it. If you lose their dynasty, you got to start over. Period. The end. Don't break my immersion, and more importantly, do not break your own. Okay, let's jump right in. Okay, so let's discuss the opening situation of the game. You are allied with Georgia. Georgia has Samske as a vassal. You're only allied with them, you're not royal married to them. And I would highly advise against royal marrying Georgia, period. The end. The reason is that as Trebizond, and this is one thing I really want to hammer home, you need to expand, okay? You cannot stay as an OPM. You have to get these nations under your control. All this clay needs to be yours, not theirs. There are parts of the mission tree that allow you to handle situations like with Georgia diplomatically. I'm not personally that type of player. There's probably that one Chad Lord that can just stay as this OPM and demolish the hell out of the Ottomans. That Chad Lord ain't me. I have a different tactic when dealing with all these losers over in here. So what I would advise at this stage is kind of similar to what the old Ardabil strat was, which was to re-roll the game until QQ was not domineering or very hostile towards you. In this particular situation, you want to re-roll until AQ does not ally the Ottomans. I will tell you, there is a realm in which that does not happen. For me, 9 times out of 10, AQ would actually ally the Ottomans, which I guess, it makes kind of sense for them to want to, ally their border region. I guess that's fair. In the realm that they don't, I will tell you who AQ will 100% ally. That would be Ajam. Ajam and AQ form that alliance, and eventually the Timurids will attack Ajam, which will call in AQ, making your life a hell of a lot easier. They also have a tendency of allying the Great Horde. The Great Horde is a little bit more of a problem, because getting up in here and trying to fight, steppe nomads and cavalry in steppe lands is just suicide for you. So I wouldn't advise this unless you actually have a damn decent ally. But let's discuss your army composition, what to do with your state to begin with, and go from there. As you can currently see, the game is still paused. This is what you want to have, okay? You're not going to do a lot of work. You're going to do a little bit of prep work because you need to figure out who these idiots ally. And they will be hostile to you at the beginning. You can navigate this. And I will tell you another strat if you decide that you don't want to constantly reroll. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your army right here and get rid of your cavalry regiment because it is just way too expensive and you do not have money. The next thing is boost it up to 7 with just getting infantry regiments, and then set your autocrator and your heir as generals. Jesus Christ, he's actually not bad. Is he a 2-star? Damn. That's lucky for me. I never had this guy actually be worth a damn, period, dot, the end. But here's the thing, though. Your autocrator and your despot are pretty much similar in age, okay? With your despot actually being older than your autocrator. So do be advised that if you lose this one or this one and there's no one here, this is a little test also, by the way, you have to restart the campaign if you lose this dynasty. It is the Komnenoi Empire achievement. It's not some random-ass Greek family achievement, okay? Or in this particular situation, Pontic. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, do not delete your fleet. This is also one thing that's important. Your fleet will actually help you in getting alliances. And we're going to talk about the alliance set, but what I really want to do is figure out who AQ allies before you actually unpause the game, set your army maintenance and fleet maintenance down to 0, and then mothball your fort so you actually make some money. As for rivals, I would only advise rivaling Circassia. The reason for this is, yes, Jandar has actually rivaled you, but there is a tendency in which they ally the Mamluks and survive, and if you do that, if that happens, then the Mamluks will not ally you, and you will be in a position to get absolutely curb stomped by the Ottomans. If you were to check them out right now, they have actually set Trebizond as vital interest. This also happens quite frequently. I have seen it in which the Ottoman AI considers you only to be of strategic interest, and by which case you would actually be able to heathen royal marry them and keep them off your back. In this situation, you might be possible to do it, but not normally. What they would do is they would set all of Crimean territory, Theodoro, and what Genoa has over here as vital interest, along with Jandar, Karaman, Ramazan, Dulkadir to start off, along with Antiochia and I believe some other portions in here, but this is kind of random. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the game play for about 2 to 3 days in-game and see who AQ allies. Okay, in this particular situation, I let it run to the 30th of November just to be entirely certain. AQ has allied no one. Okay, this is actually very rare. The chances of this actually happening are very slim in general, but what I will say is that this is your prime time to build everything else necessary to kick their asses, okay? And the first thing that we're going to be doing is we are, at this time, building up to force limit. And we're going to go over here and work on our estates now. The reason why I said don't work on your estates is because if you want to re-roll, constantly going through your estates and clicking on all these, it can be repetitive and it will screw with you. Personally, it screws with me. It's a waste of time. I'd rather try to figure out what happens in the condition and then go and deal with all this. So as far as like what you want, you can go for the +1 on each one of these. Have very little crown land at the end of it. So in this particular situation, I will do it. Take the yearly patriarchal authority. Religious diplomats are going to come handy. You can take religious culture for the missionary strength, but I would advise doing this after you've actually taken out most of AQ, because you don't really want to have this other modifier happening right now and all the unrests and stuff because they're not part of the culture group that you're in. Clerical education is always a personal favorite of mine. I like it when the loyalty is above 60 and you gain more reform progress out of it. As for the nobility, this is where I'm probably in the minority when it comes to EU4 players. Early game, I'm not a big fan of increased levies. And in this particular situation, I will say that for some decent amount of time when you're playing Trebizond, you are not going to be the one that's going to be on the vanguard of every single engagement. 9 times out of 10, you won't. You're going to have other big daddy nations essentially deadlift for you. You're the one in the corner. You're the shy one, okay? You're the one that all of them want to like kiss ass to, okay? Pretty much. That's how you want to play the game. If you want to survive, you can again. If you're a Chad, you just bulldoze through everything, and that. By which case, please notice me and teach me your ways. But yeah, I'll let you decide whether you want to actually do the increased levies or not. Supremacy over the crown is fine. I would also take nobility officer rights. It's good just because if you don't want to lose your autocrator and your despot, then you can get somebody from the nobility estate, and they will be a little disloyal if you choose to take this option. We will in this situation, and even though our autocrator is a 2-star, I would prefer not to lose them. As for the burghers have a negative thing here, being the Italian coastal influence, because, all of our money is just going to the Italians at the beginning of here. It's fun and interactive, right? But I will say that getting rid of this condition is not going to be as difficult as what the Byzantines have to deal with. So completely disregard this for now. Get your +1 if you want it. Patronage of the arts is going to go a long way. Don't take in debt to the burghers quite yet, if at all right now. I'm personally a sucker when it comes to production efficiency, so I take this. And yeah, I just keep it at that. The next thing is summon the diet and see which one's the best. So I personally like to build up the province of Trebizond because I feel like you need to have some sort of decent economic base before you want to go and start expanding. Or you have something to fall back on in the event that you're going to constantly, expand, right? This isn't the richest region in the world, and you're caught between two relatively good trade nodes, and you're kind of dipping your toes into each, okay? So build up just a little bit. You don't need to go crazy. In our situation, we have a proposal from the clergy to boost the tax of Trebizond to 6. The nobility will want the base manpower to be at 6, and then the burghers will have the Gulf of Odessa. Trebizond's trade power will be 15%. I'm going to go for the clergy in this particular situation. I can do the nobility, but I will explain why I didn't pick this. And then seize some land from them. And then go over here and grant a generalship. Yes, again, they will be disloyal, but who gives a shit? They'll get in line. So in this particular situation, I did not get a good person, but he does have a siege pip. That might actually go a long way, but we'll take him for the time being. Okay, the next thing is we need to look at the mission tree. Okay, so let's discuss the mission tree. The one that we're working on right now is Emperor's Legion, and you need to have one general in place, and then your force limit and manpower at 100. Perfect. Once you get to 7 infantry regiments, this will automatically proc. Okay, so you'll be able to accept this. You gain a land maintenance modifier reduction, and you'll also get permanent claims on your border neighboring regions. So 1 for AQ, 1 for Samtskhe, 1 for Georgia. You already have a reconquest here on the Ottomans. You can't press this yet. Don't bother. So what we're going to be doing now is also evaluating the other parts of the mission tree. So the Caucasian kingdoms has to deal with Georgia. This is what I was talking about before. As Trebizond, you need to expand because if you just stay here, you're going to die 100%. So you have a choice in handling the situation diplomatically or by conquest. Personally, conquest is the way to go because obviously you want to get up here and deal and take up these silk regions, spices, all these good things. They have a lot of good stuff up here. And controlling on this fort is going to be crucial later on because this is like pretty much holding out this entire area and it's a mountain terrain. So why wouldn't you? The next thing is, and this is where I feel like the re-rolling is 100% really up to you because an alternative strat is to day 1 rival Georgia and then ally AQ so they help you out. But let me discuss this really quick. AQ will become your ally if you choose to improve relations with them to at least 75, okay? If you choose to do that, they will become a historical friend of yours. The problem with that is, and this is only in the event that they ally the Ottomans, you're on Iron Man, and you're tired of re-rolling and all that stuff, I do not blame you. They will be a pretty damn decent ally. But the problem is that you, for example, do you see yourself as this nation, as Trebizond, having to benefit from cavalry costs and cavalry combat ability, apart from them being a decent ally at this point, which later on they become a hindrance because you essentially want to keep expanding, there's no reason to keep them around. The reason why we didn't pick the nobility one is because bolstering the defenses pretty much allows us to have a decent amount of defensive bonus in Trebizond itself. Let's just look at that. Plus 25% and then local defender dice roll bonus plus 1. That is disgusting, okay? That is what you want to hold on to when you're fighting the Ottomans, because they'll come after you. You can repel them and wait for your daddies to deadlift everything else, okay? Ties with the Latins, this is where the negative burger modifier is coming into play. I would honestly wait for this because improving relations with them is definitely going to be the way to go here. But do it once the Renaissance is actually fired so you gain the support. Them as a historical friend is not bad either, but they're not going to be readily coming to your aid. So I would honestly advise against allying them. Let's continue. Okay, in this particular situation, this is actually very advisable. Poland is going to be one of those people that you're going to want to try to ally as quickly as possible, especially if they get Lithuania as a PU. You're not going to be able to do it early game, but what you will be able to do later on is definitely ally them by stating yourself to be threatened to the Ottoman Empire. They will more than likely still hate the Ottomans even if they haven't rivaled them, so do bear that in mind. You are also going to be getting the royal marriage offer from Georgia. I would not take this, like I mentioned before. Instead, what I would start doing is start improving relations with the Mamluks because they will actually want to ally you. Look, that's +4 already. You could alternatively go here immediately and set yourself as threatened, which means that Austria, Hungary, the Timmies, Venice, Mamluks, all these guys are going to look at you a little bit more with some, like, hey, okay, these guys don't like them either. They're afraid. Let me go and help them out and be that big brother type, you know? I've not only said daddy, but I've always said big brother too. I'm losing my fucking mind. Okay, so let's discuss another ally here being Theodoro. Theodoro has a condition as far as our mission tree is concerned, and that being the Goths and the Romans, okay? There's one thing that happens here, and I've tested it as Theodoro a couple times as well. Essentially, what it's saying is that allying them, royal marrying them, have a trust of at least 70, etc., will grant you one of 3 particular things. If we do this via an alliance, Theodoro gets an event to become our vassal. From what I have noticed, they have a tendency of declining to be your vassal more often than Trebizond actually accepts their offer to be their vassal. So I wouldn't really hold too much stock into this particular mission. And a problem with it is that Theodoro needs to be a free nation, okay? The problem is that if they actually form tributary status under the Crimeans, that does not mean that they are a free nation. So even if you were to bring them up to plus 70 trust and all that stuff, the mission will not fire. So what I would think is the best possible situation to do if day 1 or around this time in the game you actually see that they become a tributary state of Crimea, you can still go ahead and ally them, but I would be very hesitant on trying to assist them in anything. They probably won't need any assistance with anything in the immediate future because of their tributary status, but do know that you will not be able to go down further this route until you essentially remove either their tributary status from them, make them your vassal, or fully just take them over, which any of those particular situations will work for you. That is 100% what you need to decide because you have the reins at that point. Once you're getting close to 7 infantry regiments, go ahead and boost up your army maintenance so they can get back online. And just get ready for your war, because you're going to be going up against AQ relatively soon. Okay, now we've actually fulfilled the conditions for Emperor's Legion, so we're going to immediately go ahead and press this. And like I said, the moment that you got up to 7 infantry regiments, that's when it happened. So now you have permanent claims on all your neighboring provinces. And if you're going to go over here, you have these, as I mentioned before. At this particular stage, because we're going to be going up against AQ, always try to take a look-see at the Mamluks, because we are actually at a point where we can ally with them relatively soon. It does look a bit precarious, but don't worry, you will get to 29 relatively quickly. AQ is only allied with Biapes in this particular situation, so Georgia will probably try to help you in this regard. What I would advise as far as land is concerned, though, when you're fighting AQ, is you want to try your best to take up to here. The reason why we're not taking Raqqa is because the Mamluks have set Raqqa, and in this particular situation, Urfa, so we might actually want to reconsider that one too, as vital interest. Because we want to make sure that we maintain a Mamluk alliance for some time, you don't really want to piss them off and holding onto a territory that they actually want, okay? But for now, we're just going to go over here and start the war against AQ. Okay, now you have an option if you decide that you have like a decent advisor over here for like discipline or morale or anything like that. You can bring them in, but in this particular situation, we don't have somebody like that, so it's better to not have to waste so much. And then also your fleet maintenance is going to go up again. Make sure you bring it down so you don't lose a hell of a lot. Your fort is also being maintained now, so do know you're going to be definitely dropping. Do be advised that AQ's forces are not too bad, so let's try to keep all of our guys together. We called in Georgia with a promise of land, but obviously we're not going to give them anything. So this is just to further illustrate that you can actually get the Mamluk alliance. We are at plus 85 with them, so go ahead and secure that heathen royal marriage with them, so you lock them in. Okay, so at this point, we have fully sieged down all of AQ. The forces of AQ are definitely en route constantly. Georgia's just been hounding them. They went sit on their fortress of Kartili. So what we're going to do is we're going to sue for peace now. We're going to take all of this and just leave Raqqa. Screw this fucking bullshit-ass coalition. Don't even worry about it, because the moment you come over here and you take this, you get aggressive expansion reduction. So not too bad. So just go over here and take all of this. You can take war reps if you really want to. In this particular situation, they rivaled, and I was going to go for the humiliation, but in this situation, this is actually more preferable. So let's go ahead and take all this land right now. And look at that. That is your beefy Trebizond right from the start of the game. And you also get the Turkoman question immediately fulfilled because you were able to take him over militarily. You get 100 admin power and the aggressive expansion reduction. So go ahead and core up all your stuff. You may or may not have enough to do all of this, but immediately after here, this is when you're going to want to start improving relations with Poland. And again, because of the situation, you may or may not be able to ally them relatively soon-ish, but it is what it is. Check to see who Karaman has allied. In this case, it is the Mamluks, so we don't want to rival them. We can go for a rival on Jandar now because they actually have not allied them. They've only allied Crimea. So let's go ahead and do that. So in this particular situation, because we took Urfa, we definitely want to make sure that we try to get the Mamluk alliance as quickly as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to send a scornful insult towards whoever is an enemy of the Mamluks. In this situation, the Timmies are a good one. I have rarely seen them actually rival the Aragonese, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. QQ will definitely rival them back. I'm not sure why it's not happening here, but because the Timmies are over here and because they're far away, the Ottomans will like us too. So let's just go ahead and pick a really good one. What's actually... I feel like that's messed up. There's a problem rife with Timurids, and I suspect the cause are the Uzbek. Alright, fine, do it. Okay, so the moment that the Renaissance actually fires, that's when you want to start improving relations with the Genoese. That way you can get rid of that horrible burgher privilege as well as the boost of the Renaissance in your capital. So let's go over here and start improving relations with them. So just know, what we have here is a bit of a precarious situation. Because Poland has too many diplomatic relations, they are minus 100 with us right now, but that's as close as we can get at the moment. The further we actually get and the more we expand, the more they would be inclined to ally us. But I do want it known that under no circumstances, unless you are in a position that you are on your last legs, man, don't ever ally Muscovy. They are the most worthless dirtbag piece of shit in this game. I challenge anyone to say otherwise. Every single time I've allied this nation, they have done fuck all. So don't even bother. So at this point, what we've been doing is we've just been improving relations with these guys and kind of just sitting here and trying to stabilize our nation because we're going to have some rebel issues. But at this point, having the Mamluk alliance is pretty much all you're going to need in order to survive out here. And what I would advise doing at this point is just going here and setting Georgia as your next rival. And we haven't royal married them, so at this point, they're only allied with Theodoro in our run. So we can probably kill two birds with one stone here if we play our cards right. And by doing this, as you can also see, we got the ties with the Latins completed. So we just go here and immediately get this thing off, which is absolutely abysmal. And we gain Genoa as a historical friend, so that's also not bad either. And 25 support for the Renaissance over here in Trebizond is actually pretty damn decent as well. So we will actually be able to see it spread. Right now, you're obviously going to be in some modicum of debt. I went ahead and mothballed the fort over here, and I'm constantly setting these guys for rebel suppression, just so it makes life a little bit easier. You can go ahead and mothball all of your forts. Really depends on your comfortability level, because by doing that, for example, having these two forts, it's minus 34.34, so it's fine. As you can see here, AQ is just at one province minor, and QQ is getting demolished by everything right here, because I think they decided to go after Shirvan, but now they're paying the price for it. And this is actually what we want to have happen, because we're eventually going to be gaining up in here as well. But the main goal is to deal with Georgia at this point. Genoa actually has a good army over here, but because they have too many diplomatic relations, they won't ally us, even though they have historical friend status. So definitely make sure you understand that that is also a good thing that can happen. You can alternatively decide to, if you're still an OPM, join their trade league for additional protection, but I don't know. My thing is I'm not a big fan of trade leagues, so I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that. We're also improving relations with Poland, so I think once they actually integrate their vassal, we will be able to royal marry them. But that also depends on when this whole event triggers up here and when we can actually get the alliance with them. As it currently stands, we're at 1454, and the Ottomans have not touched the Byzantines at all. Instead, what's happening is they are having some sort of internal struggle dealing with the Athenians, of whom have allied Tunis. Interesting. And look at that Duke. Holy shit. Moving on. Okay, so for some reason, the AI believes that it's a good idea for you to take out the one province that you have a reconquest on with regards to the Ottomans. Don't do that quite yet. You will die, and that's something you don't want to have happen, right? Instead, go for something else. So let's go ahead with the base manpower here. Let's try to build that up a little bit more. So what we're waiting on right now is for the year to reach in 1457 where we can actually attack the Georgians, and we're also waiting for Poland to integrate their vassal, which they have already begun the process. So they'll be done by 1459 roughly. What you should probably consider doing is paying attention to them quite a lot now, because the moment that they integrate, you will probably be able to ally them, or at least royal marry them. And be prepared with another diplomat to scornfully insult somebody else. I would consider like probably Bohemia or Denmark in this particular situation as good scornful insult targets. And what the hell happened here? That's what I'm saying. Like every time I record something, it goes weird. Like Athens has this entire southern half. That's crazy. But yet Byzantium's still alive. Okay, let's continue. One thing that's very crucial when you're playing as Trebizond is making sure that your diplomatic game is on fucking point, okay? What's really happened is QQ has gone ahead and warned us not to declare war on anybody else, and quite frankly, you should not care about this little empty threat here, okay? Especially now, considering how they only have 13,000 men left and 5,000 in reserve. The chances of them actually coming and doing anything to us, or quite frankly, anybody else, is very, very slim. Additionally, in this particular situation, Georgia actually annexed their vassal, so this will actually be a lot easier to take out their this particular province right over here, because it's no longer a capital province. But it's still nonetheless a difficult area to take. But our guy has 3 siege, and watch, my luck is going to be fucking terrible, and we won't be able to take it out. In preparation for the war with Georgia, I've gone ahead and recruited up to force limits, so my guys have 11,000 over here, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this edict over here on Trebizond. What I have done is I went ahead and upgraded the settlement itself a little bit, not to 30 quite yet, because if I were to boost this one more time, then I get the mission, so I don't really want to have that happen right now. It's not that important, and you shouldn't really focus on this either. You can completely opt not to do this, but I personally like to go for the build up the strong backbone before you actually go ahead and start fighting. So our truce is up with Georgia, and we should not hesitate. But before we go in, let's talk government reforms. Considering how and where we are, you have a couple choices. Again, I'm probably in the minority of EU4 players, but I do not take this national manpower modifier one. I really don't. I don't know why. I like money, so I normally go with curtail noble privileges for that 15% extra. Alternatively, because of where we are, this one is not a bad one either, because forts are going to cost a lot of money, and quite frankly, we need to maintain them, especially in dealing with the Ottoman threat constantly. The last one would probably be the Noble Officer Corps. Though it does grant that cavalry cost reduction, that's not what we're really looking at. We're looking more so at the yearly army tradition. So in this particular situation, I'm going to go with the curtail noble privileges, but do know that any of these would work. Even if you want to go for the national manpower modifier, my guy, just do it. You know what? This 100%, that's your decision. But for me, I'm going with the curtail noble privileges because I want money. As you currently see, we don't even have a debt going on right now. I managed to pay them off, and we only had like just the one. Okay, so we are now ready to go up against Georgia. Georgia's allied with Theodoro. And going back to the mission tree just briefly, I would go in this particular situation, seeing as how we're going to be fighting them, for the conquest of Theodoro. That way we can actually get a castle building there for free, relatively free. And the defensiveness is actually going to be really good. It goes all the way to the end of the game. So honestly, why not? At that point, like, having the fort, it's definitely going to cost money to have, but in a situation like this, we'd be closer to Poland, and I think that proximity is actually going to work to our benefit. Plus, this is actually not a bad spot as like a decent defensive position to really siphon in the enemy. They would want to go there, I guess. There and probably Trebizond. Those are the two main areas that they would want to go in. And I'm referring mostly to the Ottomans. The rest aren't really going to do anything. Before we actually start this war, though, I would highly advise going here and getting indebted to the burghers, because more than likely the Mamluks are not going to assist you in this matter. So it may be a good idea just to get like a free company of some sort. If you find like a really damn decent army, like the Circassian Guards, you can get them, but do be advised that this is like, your finances are not fantastic, and you want to make sure that you can take them over as quickly as possible. I would argue that, you know, the Kurdish company would be more effective here. Free company would be nothing, really. But, I mean, this is a lot of money for all that. So let's just go with a free company, make it simple on ourselves. We have some decent generals. Okay, so without further ado, let's take out Georgia. There's just something I really want to bring to everyone's attention. If there's a fort here on Lumsia, and then there's one here on Kartili, if you push to this area and there's a fort here, you won't be able to go back towards Trebizond. You'll essentially be locked until you take out the fort on this province. But at this point in the game, they've actually swapped the capital province option, and this is actually a lot more difficult to take considering the great project that's here. So this is actually the right move for them in one sense, but overall, like, they would have this fort here and it becomes an absolute bitch and a half to try to take. But we took this fort, which is really good, so this actually allows them to be on the back foot a little bit. If they try to push in here, we'll be able to take them out relatively easily. Okay, so this is essentially what I'm mentioning. We can't go back. We're blocked by this fort now, and there's no way we can get over to Trebizond to relieve the siege. So we're going to have to take this settlement out as quickly as possible and then rush back here so our main capital does not fall. Georgia's actually making some sort of breakthrough here. You can go ahead and put the defensive edict from the beginning on here. I didn't do that. I thought that, you know, having a 3 siege guy will actually work to our benefit. Apparently not. Does this guy have siege? He has no siege. No siege, but yeah, he's made a breakthrough. Shocker. This is actually a new thing for me, having this particular situation happen. Okay, so this is actually a situation that I've actually never had happen, even in my test runs. So, the dude has no general anymore. He's sitting on my capital. He's got 14% and a wall breach. Theodoro's over here, probably going to beat me to take that one over their capital province, which I thought was actually going to end up a little bit faster. So what I'm going to be doing is actually calling the Mamluks for the hell of it. Go for it. Get them in here and have them demolish these guys and help you out a little bit. That's why they're there, right? So just watch them come over here and curb stomp the living hell out of them while we're just sitting here and, yeah, essentially losing a lot of money. At this point, if you've actually had to call in the Mamluks to do anything for you, I would just try to get rid of your free company as fast as possible, because you're just going to be draining money, and they have enough soldiers in order to deal with the rest of this crap. So we have Theodoro completely occupied. We're just going to go here, accept this, take all their money, tell them to piss off. It's our territory now. And we're going to annex the entire thing. Go for the entire thing. No one is going to care. There is literally no one else around here that cares about Georgia. So just take the entire thing over. Take whatever money you can. The territory is more important than the money at this point. And just hit that lovely button. So there's our nation. It's looking actually relatively good right now. Not going to lie. I'm going to get rid of this fort, even though it is better being on this particular region, but it's not upgraded, so we get no benefits from it anyway. And the one that's now here on Kars is actually going to be a lot more effective because of its range. So it's taking over all of these provinces. And what we can do here is immediately start coring up all of this, and then going to our mission tree here, and we have two that we can actually fulfill here. The first one being the Caucasian kingdoms, in which case we have all these territories under our control, and we got it via conquest, so we get an army reformer, level 2. The next one is the Goths and the Romans, so we managed to get this one via conquest, so we can take this. And we get a fort there. As for your rivals at this stage, like Hessing Kaifa is actually rivaling us, but I don't know, like they're allied with the Ottomans, so it's kind of like meh, whatever. So you can just go ahead and like re-rival them back. Another one that's actually a good one in this particular situation would probably be QQ, because you want to go at them next, so go ahead and rival them. Okay, so let's discuss what we've been doing since the Georgian War ended. We've been paying back our loans, we have been coring up our territory, improving relations with the Mamluks in Poland, and before we get to Poland, I also want to mention that Hungary is actually in a very good position to be our ally, for a couple of reasons. The first one is they have not rivaled Poland. That is very good. They have 30,000 men. Second, very good. Third is they're rivaled to the Ottomans, so they will help us in fighting them. Absolutely chef's kiss, man. Chef's fucking kiss. The other one is that Poland is currently working towards the annexation of Moldavia, okay? This is going to make it possible for us to hopefully royal marry them and then later ally them, because that's how close it is. That is legit 100% what you need to be looking for playing Trebizond early game. These are the daddies you are looking for, okay? They will curb stomp the Ottomans plus the Mamluks, and you will legit have to do nothing. All you do is just sit back and enjoy and reap the benefits of their labor. I wish I was kidding, but I mean, it's badass one way or the other. I know, like, every single one of us EU4 players, we get a hard on every time we see the Ottomans get fully capitulated, right? Or is that just me? No, it's every single one of us. I'm retracting it. Yeah, it's every single one of us. You can't lie to me, man. You know damn well. This is just thinking about it. Hell, just seeing these two provinces currently occupied are making me feel some kind of way, let me tell you. Let's discuss QQ at this point. QQ is in a very precarious position. Namely, everybody, except for Hessing Kaifa, wants to kill them. We need to be there first, okay? As far as their army composition is concerned, they have 14,000 men with 23 in reserve. They've also warned us I don't give a maiden's fuck if they warned us or not. We're going to kill them. We have the means to demolish them, okay? We have the Mamluks and we can promise them land and actually give them something, because I don't plan on going down there into Mesopotamia anytime soon. I'll just give it to the Mamluks and have them be a little bit stronger. Who cares, right? What we want to essentially do is to kill them off, at least up top here. And I've gone ahead for just the sake of this part and listed all these areas of vital interest. These two provinces of Bitlis and Van, they're not a part of this. This is more so for my eyes, because I really appreciate the clean borders here. And I know you guys, being avid EU4 junkies, are going to appreciate this as well. So this is relatively clean. This is actually going to give you a decent amount of income. And even if these two provinces are not even listed as part of the condition that we need to own 15 provinces in this area, it just looks nice. The more land you have, the more bigger nations are going to be like, hey, these guys are actually like worth allying. Let's ally them. Hello, we can go and beat the living crap out of the douchebag to the west, okay? With regards to your first age reform, I think it can go without saying that justified wars is something that we all pick very early on. But I would like to also bring to your attention the strength behind the adaptive combat terrain, and that is only because our capital province is a mountain province, okay? A +1 in mountains, it might actually work to your benefit. I have not tested this. This is something I just actually now realized, and that's more so because all these provinces in here are mountains, okay? They will be an absolute bitch to fight in. But then again, if you're going in this direction, how many mountain provinces are really here? You know? So it's situational. If you feel like you want to take this over the justified wars, I wouldn't blame you. I think just incrementally, justified wars is a little bit better than the adaptive combat terrain. Because again, we're not going to be the ones that should be on the vanguard of these engagements. We need other people to do it for us, okay? So I would go with the justified wars to start off, but seriously consider adaptive combat terrain for Trebizond. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go after QQ immediately. Again, they have more troops than us, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing in the Mamluks, because they have 45,000 pretty much. They're going to add this to our number, and we're going to be going for the conquest of Bayezid. So the leader of QQ, being Jahan Shah, right, is a very, very good general. Okay, 2451. The issue that we have here is that this province is actually a damn good one to hold, right? Put defensive edict on. This is actually what you want to have happen. Let them go here and let the Mamluks do, again, most of the heavy lifting. They are on Mushasha at the moment. They're sitting on their capital. So just kind of let this play out as much as you can. Wait for reinforcements to come up, because there's a 21k coming here already. And more than likely, they're going to get involved. So let's get this going. They're locked in, and this is going to be an absolute curb stomp. If you want, you can also sally forth. I'm not going to. In this particular situation, we're vastly outnumbering them, so this is working out very well. At this point, you can see the Hungarians are just 1 point away from actually being able to Royal Marry us, and allying is just right around the corner. So I would just pick somebody to scornfully insult. In this case, probably Bohemia is going to be the best one. And holy crap, what the hell happened to them? Okay, well, come over here. Furthermore, I believe that Praha must be destroyed. I agree. And you get a royal marriage right there. Easy peasy. So check this out, man. A really big, beefy Trebizond. This is what we love to see. This is all what we love and enjoy. That's what's the best thing, like chef's kiss, again, happening. We've also allied and royal married Hungary. This is also a really good thing to have here, because they didn't fall under the PU with Austria. Poland has gone ahead and wanted to be the world police and is supporting the independence of Sweden. So again, my luck is that shit, and they still don't want to ally me. Oh man, it's just it's so fantastic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go here and insult Denmark scornfully. I don't like that one. Need something funny. Really? Got the same thing twice? Your mother was a hamster and your father smells of elderberries. I like that one. We're gonna grab that one. So that would probably make Poland like us a little bit more. Moving on. Naturally, we're going to have a lot of rebel issues pop up here, and we need time to core everything up. It's not going to be too much, but at the same time, we don't have a lot of admin power because I decided I wanted to take an admin tech. But we definitely need to start paying back these loans. And look at that. 0.9 with all of these. This entire territory with activated forts. That is wild, guys. That is absolutely wild for this nation to have that right now. So let's go over here. We can actually pay off a decent chunk of the loans. I think they're all relatively the same. Yeah, so you know what? Just pay these 81s off and just keep it like that. The other thing is that while you're doing this, I would highly advise against taking Emperor of the Iberians at the moment. I'm still letting the game run though. The main issue here is that because we did this via conquest, our Autocrator will gain +1 military mana points. I wouldn't do that right now because of his age. He's 62, so yeah, you never know when he's gonna drop. But our Despot's actually a pretty damn decent one with 6 admin skill, 5 Diplo, and 3 military. So make that a 4. Hold on to it. You're not that big of a rush, okay? And then we're just gonna sit back here and continue coring all this up. It's gonna take some time in order to do this. But in the meantime, we're still just going to wait and, you know, just see what happens with the rest of the world. The Ottomans are currently trying to take over little bits and pieces of Crimea. Which is fine. Let them fucking do it. See if I care. Okay, so like I said, Autocrator died just, I think, 2 years after this whole thing. So now we have our Chad Lord of an heir on the throne. And right immediately, I'm just going to go and get this so he gets the +1. So now he's a 654. Let's go ahead and get those royal marriages back up, mostly with the Mamluks first. And then we can get it with the Hungarians. And then hopefully, I really wish these guys wouldn't be such textbook assholes and they would help us out. Like, why are you allied with Gotland? What is that actually doing for you? I don't get it. I know why. I don't need to know. Okay, so let's discuss the next government reform. Tier 3 is always an interesting one for me. In this particular situation, because we have a lot of territory with not accepted cultures, we only have 2 slots for that one. Decentralized bureaucracy may be a good one for you to employ, because Georgian is also one that we haven't accepted, and Kurdish is not one that we've accepted. The other one is regional councils. And regional councils, for me, is only good in the Age of Discovery, with the 50% local tax modifier. After that, I would swap it over to decentralized bureaucracy, because what I would eventually like to do is build up these provinces with like churches and marketplaces, workshops, all those things to help our economy, because yes, we are making some money right now, right? We are making money, and that is just because I've constantly had to go over here and balance it and sell titles in order to pay off the loans, plus the war reparations that came in. So everything is really just balancing the budget. I've also increased a little bit of our army, so it's up to 14,000, while I have 4 of my forts actually mothballed, including my capital fort. So in this situation, I'm going to go with the regional councils, put the local tax modifier on every single one of my provinces, and let it go to work. It's not giving us a bunch, but it's giving us just that little bit that we need to keep going. That's all that we really want to use right now. And then later on, we will swap it over to decentralize as quickly as possible. Regarding your first idea, I would definitely go something military oriented, specifically either offensive or quality. In this instance, I would go with offensive. I feel like the benefits would far outweigh here than the quality. Yes, the infantry combat ability is going to be very, very good, but having the extra land leader shock is always going to be exceptional at this part of the game. And the end discipline over there as well. We don't really rely on the ships too much or cavalry here to make the quality justified. On the flip side, you can also go for defensive, so you get the increased morale, but I would definitely consider offensive ideas. It's a very good one to start stacking with your patriarchal authority. So the miracle happened, and it worked out to our benefit. After Poland, Lithuania helped Sweden get out of their situation, it seems that their whole alliance has broken down, and now we are actually able to ally Poland, Lithuania, which was the goal from the start. So now we have such incredibly strong allies, and the fact that they all hate the Ottomans, it's even better. So what we're going to do is we've gone ahead and we've allied them and royal married them. This just proves if you maintain all of this and just keep your like diplomats working all the time, you will eventually be able to get these allies. And now what we need to do is we need to continue on with our mission tree. Specifically this one, scorn the Ottomans, which essentially means we are going to either insult them or scornfully insult them, or the Ottomans don't exist. The last one is definitely not going to be the case. But what that does is it helps us out with the Komnenoi restoration of core creation costs and grants us permanent claims in the territory that we're going to be attacking. So we need to do this immediately because now we have good allies that will help us. You can potentially wait for Poland, Lithuania and gain like 10 favors with them, so then you won't actually have to like give them land or anything, because quite frankly, they will probably want something from the Ottomans. Yes, they would. This is up to you if you want to wait. Seems like Hungary doesn't really want to get involved because they're in debt at the moment. So it's not a bad thing to just sit here, wait, figure that all out, just work on your nation a little bit. A lot of the Trebizond game is to play it safe at certain times, but right now you can be confident in the fact that the Ottomans are not going to be the ones that are going to attack you. The only thing that I would just caution you about is there isn't a chance, a slight chance, that Poland and the Mamluks actually rival one another, in which case constantly set your diplomats to work with these guys to keep them all happy. Okay, you want them all happy, you want them all on your side, and we will meet up once we have 10 favors and every single one of these guys that can get involved to fight the Ottomans. There's a little bit of prep work that you have to do before you start fighting the Ottomans. Make sure that all your forts are activated and all that good stuff. And what you really want to do is get the bolster the defense going, because having that fort defense on Trebizond, seeing as how it is your capital and you are right next to the Ottoman Empire in that regard, you need to make sure that that's all set up. So the first thing you're going to have to do is boost that up to 7. We are currently at 6, so do that one time. Easy peasy. And get this going. So now we have an insane amount of defensiveness in this province. The next thing that you're wanting to do is go ahead and scornfully insult them just for the hell of it. And let's find a good one for them. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty good. And now we get this mission completed. So now we have even more claims over this territory. Mostly here. We have the Reconquest here, and then we have additional provinces over here that we want to take. So let's take a look at what the Mamluks are looking at as vital interests. So they want these parts that used to belong to Dulkadir, along with this province down here. So that means we can kind of go ahead and do something like this. Go ahead and list these provinces as vital interest for us, and ideally we would want to do something like this. Okay, set Constantinople and Gallipoli as well as provinces of vital interest. You can do the same here. The thing is, right, that if we're going to be declaring this war, we don't have enough favors with Poland to just get them in outright, so we would probably have to promise them a little bit of land. But at the same time, right, are we going to honor such a commitment? Not really. We're going to just go at them. Who gives a shit? And with all of these, that's 85,000 in comparison to their 53. What we will be doing is we're going to attack Hessen-Kaifa immediately. So we're going to move our troops down here and knock out one of their allies right off the bat. The other ones, but more than likely the Mamluks are going to go after Fars. If Poland and if I could get Hungary, which I don't know why in the hell that they're doing stupid shit. Sometimes I can go ahead and my luck is just terrible, right? And ask them to prepare for war. Sometimes this helps. In my case, sometimes it does not. But along with that, I'm going to go and use my patriarchal authority to get the icon of St. Michael, for the additional discipline and all that good stuff, and get ready. Because at this time, yep, see, they just will not do it. They don't like me enough. Or maybe they will after the month take is done. Let's see. Nope, still won't do it. Okay, promise Poland land. Bring the Mamluks in on this. And pray to RNG Jesus. Hold on to your sphincter because it's about to get really bumpy. So after Hessen-Kaifa first, that's just an obvious choice. Everything else is going to happen. The Mamluks are going to focus on these guys down here. So they're already on Dawasir. They're going to have to go after Fars at some point. My general like instantly died. That's fucking fantastic. Let me get over here and hopefully try to find another good guy. Oh yeah, you're pretty good. Come over here. So like I said, Poland's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And we have some Ottoman forces over here, which is kind of a little bit concerning, but at the same time, not much we can do about it. We have to knock out Hessen-Kaifa as much as possible. But it looks like Poland and Lithuania are over down here, and that's pretty good. So now we've sandwiched both sides of these guys, and that's going to work out to our advantage so very much. I'm hoping they at least knock out Dawasir so they can go elsewhere. Getting war reparations with them is going to be fantastic. Build a spy network on the Ottomans as well. It's definitely going to help out with all these sieges that you're going to have to do. Because you're going to have to be really fast, okay? Otherwise, shit like this is going to happen. That Poland just completely allowed them to get decimated. Okay, so Shirvan has been sieged down. They didn't do anything to lift that siege. That's amazing. I love that for me. Dawasir has been sieged, so let's go ahead and get them out of here. Where are they at? Over down here. Get war reps from whoever you can, to be perfectly honest. Have some Ottoman forces up here. Kill them off. Hessen-Kaifa has been sieged. And at this point, you know what? With Hessen-Kaifa, just fully annex them. You don't want them around anymore. You need the territory. And who gives a shit about coalition? We need to deal with Ajam as quickly as possible. If we don't, then we're going to be facing a lot of other issues. The Ottomans are unfortunately pushing a decent chunk into Polish territory, and that's because all their forces are down here. So we kind of have to get this situation rectified and then push against them as much as possible, because we just want them to fight the Ottomans. We do not want them to fight Fars. We don't want them to fight Ajam. We don't want them to fight anybody else. We need them to fight the Ottomans. Okay, so we siege Gazvin, and we're going to go sit here on Qom. I might be saying these province names a little bit weird, but that's because I'm Persian. So, yeah. The more you know. Okay, so let's get Fars out of here. We don't need them to be around anymore. Focus their attention on other, more important things. And we're getting money from this, so it's obviously very important. The Ottomans are pushing at us, but at the same time, they're actually dealing with rebel issues of Poland. So, I mean, this is working out fantastic. Okay, so we siege Qom, which means that Ajam will also be out of this conflict. So now it's just only going to be the Ottomans, and we are just going to absolutely wreck their asses. I don't really like the way I even said that. I would also recommend currying favors with Poland, mostly because we're not going to be giving them land, so they're not going to be particularly happy with us. So definitely keep that in mind. This is what we all love and enjoy. 51,000 Ottomans just debt stacking on one another. There's only 3,000 over here sieging. And you know what's even worse? That's their Sultan. And okay, Poland left. Okay, so seeing as how Poland got out of this war and our war enthusiasm is going a little bit low and we're going to have a lot of rebel issues, I'm just going to take the coastline over here, a little bit of money, and call it a day. So there is a pretty successful war against the Ottomans completed right there. And let's go ahead and start coring that all up. Very good. And we have the mission Pontic Reconquest. Lose 3 war exhaustion, and we get to empower the Komnenian Restoration with an additional 0.5 yearly army tradition. And the cool part about this is, probably depending upon your stability, these provinces are going to start converting to Greek, Pontic, and Cappadocian culture. And we gain a whole bunch more cores on all these territories in Anatolia, so we continue on with the restoration. So at this point, we're just kind of sitting pretty again, and we're allowing these areas to core up. It's really good to have this land bridge because if Poland, Lithuania, or Hungary, when we declare the war again against the Ottomans, come over here and take Constantinople, they have a land bridge to get across, and then the fleet will pretty much be useless. So pretty much what we've done is allowed multiple different paths for our allies to get to us, and and much easier reconquests of what these territories used to be. They were ours before, and we have territories that are actually starting to swap back over to Greek and Pontic culture. So we have Van here that swapped to Greek, and then we also have this province that swapped over to Pontic. So it just happens randomly. So at the moment, all we're really doing is just waiting for the peace timer to end with the Ottomans, which in our case, it'll be around 1498. You can try and start converting these provinces, which would probably be ideal because you're going to have religious issues pop up and a whole bunch of other little bits and pieces pop up everywhere. We are slowly converting the populace, like over here in Van, they actually swapped to Greek. In this province, they swapped to Pontic, and same here. So our home province is now completely Pontic, but it's not completely Orthodox. And then, yeah, we are just going to wait for the Ottomans to, essentially, they are fighting over here, and they will continue to fight. Ideally, we want to make sure that this is a horrible event. Jesus Christ. Ideally, we want to get both Hungary and Poland and Lithuania in on the next conflict, along with the Mamluks, because we want to completely try to curb stomp the Ottomans over here in Anatolia. I would also suggest, go and take Constantinople, Masabria, and Gallipoli if you really can. Release Byzantium, release Bulgaria, feed them back all their cores, integrate them, all that good stuff. You know the drill. You've done that before. Once you're actually getting close to your truce timer being up with the Ottomans, make sure your forts are all activated because, again, you want them to be effective. In our situation right now, the Ottomans are actually fighting against Castile, Aragon, Navarra, Portugal, Castilian, Brazil, and Caribas. So naturally, they are definitely doing something that's not here. So we can immediately go and attack them. Ideally, our allies will all get involved. And in this situation, they definitely will. And Tunis is not definitely involved in this one. They're getting their asses whooped. So I think what I'm going to do is, in this particular situation, this is in Tokat. I'm going to go for that one first. And in this war, we just want to take as much as we really can, honestly, from these guys. We are significantly outnumbering them. So let's get this war underway. It's just my luck that the moment I declare war, that's when my freaking leader dies, and at least we got an Alexios on the throne. That's kind of cool. And this is the ideal situation that we wanted for them to come through. But the moment that these guys actually break through is when we're gonna have a problem. That 21k is gonna come and kick my ass if I actually still stand here. So make sure you're always aware of where the Ottoman forces are. Until the Mamluks actually get up here, which they are down here at Dawasir to deal with them, and then Ajam is over here trying to siege down Shirvan, we can probably head on that direction to focus on them and just allow Poland, Lithuania, and Hungary to deal with the rest over here. Additionally, you can or cannot do this. It's really up to you. But I like to always set the territories I want for vital interest, so the AI swaps it over to me. And because they didn't actually siege down Optimoi, when they take Constantinople, they will be able to march over and not have to worry about the Ottoman fleet blocking them at any point. Holy air! Can I get this guy on right now? I don't want your name, Manuel, though. David Alexios. Yeah, I'm a big Alexios Komnenoi fan, so this guy. As for another age reform, quite frankly, all of them can work at this point. I wouldn't take the higher developed colonies. You're not going to be colonizing. If you really want to have cavalry in your army, you can take this. It doesn't really matter. I mean, war taxes is probably going to be the best one here. We're not fighting anybody that has a subject, quote unquote, but, either of these two would work. You can also take this one. I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to using edicts, more so because I tend to forget them. But if you're very attentive to this, having the unrest actually be lower for you is not a bad thing. But in this situation, I'll just go for improved war taxes because we need more money. I went into the engagement here because I'm military tech 8 and these guys are military tech 6, so ideally I would win this, but again, my luck is shit. I barely won this, holy crap. Wow, look at that, Ottoman AI kind of doing their bullshit. Minus 21% and a wall breach on frickin' Trebizond already, that's insane. The moment that the Ottoman allies are sieged down, get them out of the war, because you want the Mamluks to redouble their efforts to go up against the Ottomans and not anybody else. Gotta love it when you get a generous donation like this. Oh, that's so nice. That's what you get for doing God's work. Okay, and this is actually like a total capitulation, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we're going to take Constantinople away from them. We're going to take Misabria away from them so we can release both of these nations, and that's fantastic. If you want to like RP it a little bit and say like, okay, you don't want to take these two provinces, that's totally fine. You can just take more provinces over down here, take the coastline all the way down to here. You know, you can definitely do that. Hell, I mean, even if you do this, you can even take that. But my thing is, I would rather see the Ottomans get absolutely destroyed utterly. That's just how I would prefer them to be. So releasing these two nations and feeding back their cores is going to be a lot better. Plus, you're taking Constantinople away from them, and that is their main economic heartland. So you just won another big-ass war against the Ottoman Empire. Your allies did most of the work for you. Take as much money as you can, and call it a day. And that's what you should be looking like by 1503 if you have the right conditions, if you do everything, you know, somewhat to how I did it in this one. I venture to say, honestly, you guys will probably be able to do it a lot better than I can. Let me show you, before we actually end this off, let me show you what can happen if you were to ally AQ instead. So I wanted to show you guys the AQ alliance situation, what can happen, and how it's navigated in a different way. So when you start the game off, if this is the route that you're choosing to go, if they're constantly allying the Ottomans at this point, so let's just pause it here for a moment. What I did day one is go ahead and rival Georgia, and made myself incredibly weak. I have no allies, no nothing, period, at the end. I would not advise this at all. Like, at least go ahead and ally Theodore if you really want. But essentially, what you can do is you can always improve relations, and once they reach plus 75 with you, they're still going to be hostile, but don't worry about this, because, like, in this situation, you definitely would not do this, because they haven't allied the Ottomans here, but you would be able to ally them after you get the mission, because they swap to historical friend. So you can take this, right, and just let it tick for a little bit. Their number of plus 75 is going to immediately spike up. And the moment that you go over here, they'll be hostile for a little while longer, but then they'll swap to being friendly with you so you can form the alliance with AQ. I wanted to discuss the AQ alliance with you guys because I feel total transparency when it comes to guides like this is very important. AQ, for me, is not the best ally to have, but they're not the worst ally to have. It's kind of a happy medium. The problem is when you actually form the alliance with AQ, they get permanent claims on all of these regions, and they should not, under any circumstances, be able to press any of these claims. They should all belong to you. Now, day one, you've rivaled Georgia because you're just tired of re-rolling, and who can blame you, okay? You want to declare war on Georgia when December 1449 rolls around, okay? That's going to be an immediate thing that you should do. Here's what happens. You have a claim on Tau. You do not have a claim on Lumsia. They do have the claim on Lumsia. What will happen is if you march over here, you sit on their capital, first of all, you're going to be locked here because of this fort. All right, you will not be able to go back, as I indicated earlier in the guide. So if Trebizond is being sieged, you better hope and pray to RNGesus that you're able to siege these two things down and then haul your ass over here to relieve the siege on Trebizond, okay? This, unfortunately, the territories of Samske will fall to AQ, and they will not swap them over to you, including Tau, okay? They want it. What you need to do in that particular situation is you need to fully occupy all of Georgia's territories, and the thing here is, once AQ gets to Georgia, they will swap control over to you. So it's kind of a, like, what the fuck are you trying to pull here, right? So what I would suggest is fully take over all of Georgia, annex it fully, and then Samske becomes your vassal. If they're allied to Circassia at this point, take bits of Circassia, like take their coastal regions so you can get up here into the Crimea, or take them all over. It doesn't matter. The more territory you have, the better. But this is one thing I really, really want to stress when it comes to Trebizond. Your Diplo game must be on point, okay? You have a set amount of Diplo slots. You don't really want to go over them. And if you are forced to have a vassal in that particular situation, a vassal this shitty is going to shoot you in the foot. 100%. Because they don't have any reconquest cores. They're fucking useless apart from their fort being a level 3. And then you're going to have to waste time to annex them. And it's just hell. I wouldn't advise it at all. That should be your last resort in dealing with Samske, period. Okay? That's the position that AQ puts you in. If you don't call them into the war, they might just outright declare war on Georgia. And then they will definitely take territory from them. And that's what you don't want to have, because they can core it, you cannot, you know? That's the problem. But what you want to really focus on, instead of having a vassal at this point, is strategic alliances with Poland, Lithuania, Hungary, Mamluks, hell, even friggin' Muscovy if you're legitimately desperate, okay? If you don't get the event with Theodoro for them to become your vassal, that's the only one that you would actually consider having, alright? Theodoro's position is a lot better in this scenario than Samske's ever will be, okay? One might argue that the level 3 fort is actually to your advantage. Fine, I get that. But QQ is going to declare war on you for all of that if you do not have a really strong alliance. The first one you should go after in this situation would be the Mamluks, and find some damn way to curry enough favors or declare on somebody that AQ is allied to immediately fight them. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to take the AQ route, you're going to have to pull some Italian diplomat tactics to declare war on this one to get rid of this one. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a waste of time. I wouldn't advise it. It's your last resort. So thank you so much for tuning into my Trebizond guide. Obviously, this is my very first attempt at making a guide, period. So I hope I was able to do well enough to help you all in aspiring to acquire the Komnenoi Empire achievement. Trebizond is a really badass nation, and I really wish, you know, it would be covered a lot more. But one might argue that because others haven't, it's a perfect opportunity for me to do so. So I'm not complaining on that front. If you enjoyed me, the way that I explain things, my quirkiness, randomness, if I made you laugh even once, I consider that a win. Definitely feel free to like, subscribe, comment if there's anything that you feel like I should have explained more on, or if, you know, there are questions that you feel like you can answer from your fellow gamer in the comment section, please feel free to do so. I have an active Discord, and, you know, I'm working on this channel. I'm having an absolute blast with it. If you'd like me to continue on with the Trebizond mission tree, I'm totally fine with doing that. I'll leave it up to everybody whether you guys would like me to do that. I would highly advise you give this nation a try, work to get the achievement, and let me know how it goes. Until then, I will catch you later.